us right here on ET Now is one of the strongest voices in the defense strategic affairs space. And Maroof Raza, thanks very much for being with us. It really is a big day as far as India's armed action is concerned. And I'm going to really start with the import of Balakot. And I think that's not being spoken about as much as it should be. Balakot is not just a huge terror training camp. It's not just a huge Fedayeen training camp base. It's also a place which is strategically of importance to jaish-e-mohammed, to JEM and to Masood Azhar. He makes a mention of his sentimental attachment to the space. So in some sense, we are striking where it hurts. Will you agree?
You see, eminent Pakistani historian and analyst of matters military Aisha Siddiqa has called Balakot the epicenter of terrorism in South Asia. Balakot has a historical importance in Pakistan's culture of some kind of an irregular force taking on the forces of the kingdom during Maharaja Ranjit Singh's time. Balakot was used to rally together fighters against him, but Ranjit Singh got the better of them. 2005 or so, when the earthquake took place in Pakistan, much of that area was destroyed, but it was rebuilt with funding from the Saudis. And therefore, there seems to have been also, when the Saudis fund anything, whether in Kashmir, where the culture of radicalization and jihadi warfare has sort of taken root very deeply, or the funding from Saudi Arabia and Karnataka and Kerala, in all cases we've seen that while they build up mosques and madrasas, they also radicalize the people. Jaish-e-Mohammed seems to draw a lot of his inspiration from hardline Saudi thought, which is very different from the kind of eclectic, accommodative Islam that has been prevalent in India. But Pakistan's been taken over with that hardline Saudi view. And also Balakot is very close and overlooking the Kagan Valley on the way to Afghanistan, has been used by Pakistan both as launch pads for activities across AFPAC area into Afghanistan, but more importantly as a training ground away what the Pakistanis believed from India's reach, and therefore these groups were trained, armed, and they were given control headquarters and I mean whatever else. I don't know that much of detail about it, but quite clearly this was a target which was chosen to convey a message that India's fight is against terror. Now for Pakistan to respond to this militarily would mean that they have acknowledged the fact that they are hand in glove with the terrorists and therefore they are fighting because the terrorists have been killed. And in this case, that training camp which has been targeted did not have a civilian population other than people who had taken to this irregular form of jihadi warfare. So therefore, India has very clearly said to the international community, we are targeting people. Yep.
No, absolutely. You're absolutely right that with responding to this, Pakistan has almost alluded to the fact they are hand in glove with the JEM. But let me take this quickly across to Sushant Sareen, a good friend of yours, and come back to you. And Sushant Sareen, India is obviously going to take the high moral ground that we urge Prime Minister of Pakistan to act. Because they refused to do so for the last so many days, we had to take a non-military preemptive action. The reality is that there has been no collateral damage. This is a hilltop. It's deeply forested. No civilian casualties. Is that going to convince the international community? Is question number one. And question number two also is the point that Maroof was making. Retaliation from Pakistan. Should the street and should people fear that at all? What are the options right now before Pakistan, given that their economy is in shambles? Can they at all afford any escalation?
See, here is the thing on the two questions. One, on the international community, I don't think we need to convince anybody. I think we've laid our cards on the table. Everybody in the international community knows that India has been showing immense patience over the last not 10, 20, 30, but almost 40 years. This terrorism, export of terrorism into India did not start just yesterday or with Pulwama. It's been going on since the time the terrorism in Punjab started. And if you really want to go by the facts, then the Pakistanis went east Pakistan was still a part of Pakistan, or Bangladesh was still part of Pakistan, they used to sponsor terrorism in India's northeastern states, insurgencies out there. So terrorism has been exported relentlessly from Pakistan. And the world knows it. They can't turn a blind eye to it. And there was a limit to what India could bear. And clearly, we were running short of patience. And this is a sign that we've ran out of patience. Now, everybody in the world expected it, number one. Number two, as far as the world is concerned, initially, because you were playing the nice boy, you were playing the good child, you were playing the guy who was responsible, everybody would come and cluck their disapproval at what the Pakistanis were doing, but would not do anything to them. But Kargil was one time when we did not back down, and the shoe was on the other foot after that. So the pressure which was initially coming on us in Kargil to stand down, to not escalate matters, then shifted to the Pakistanis, and they were left friendless. I think something similar might happen this time around, because India's patience has run out and the provocation has come from the Pakistani side. Now the question on what will the Pakistanis do? Clearly they are between a rock and a hard place. If they respond in a conventional manner, then there will be a major response from India, because what will the Pakistanis strike? There are no terror camps in India. There are no so-called non-military targets. The only non-military targets are civilian targets, and if they attack any civilian institution or infrastructure, then they will be held to pay for the Pakistanis. On the other hand, if they attack a military target, again, they will have escalated it to a point where all of Pakistan army becomes a fair game for us. We have very clearly stated we have hit a non-military target. Now, if they want to escalate to that point, then we are ready to go up the escalation ladder. The Pakistanis will then have to make their calculation on how much international support will come their way, number one. Number two, they will have to look at their coffers. You don't fight wars on empty coffers. The third option for them is that they can use the terrorist option. Now, there are three problems in that. One, a terrorist strike in India cannot be claimed by the Pakistanis, because by its very definition, they will have to maintain deniability on that. Secondly, the Pakistani public is going to raise the stock of the terrorist groups in Pakistan instead of the Pakistan military. Until now, the Pakistani military has, been this knight in shining armor. Their image is going to take even a bigger beat if they use the terrorists. And finally, Mr. Modi has changed the equation. Earlier, there was a certainty that the attack would come from Pakistan and condemnation would go from India. This time around, the reaction from India is completely different, which means that if there is now a terror strike to avenge this, they don't know how India is going to react anymore. So clearly no easy choices for them.
For a quick last answer, we're also in the middle of trading hours and we've got to take cognizance of that. Maroof, I'll come to you. Is it unwise to think that Pakistan will not act and it's all over after a big strike? I mean, that's the that's the point a lot of experts are making. But will we be ill-advised? Will it be ill-wise to and unwise to think that it's all over for now?
No, it's unwise to think it's all over for now, and I see three immediate actions by Pakistan. One is to step up more suicide attacks, not just in J&K, but perhaps elsewhere in the country where they have sleeper cells ready to operate at their instructions to try and make India feel that we can also hit back. The second thing is that they will probably deploy at least part of their armed forces, the kind of action that we took in Op Parakram after the attack on the parliament. And the third is make all the nuclear noises so that they can get the international community to take attention to their repeated pleas that they want international arbitration and international involvement in solving the Kashmir issue. But even the world community, all their heads put together, can't solve the Kashmir issue because it's too complicated for the international community per se to solve the Kashmir issue without Delhi addressing the issues within the valley.
Okay, you know what? We are live in trading market action. The markets had a very, very knee-jerk reaction to this. kind of recovered from then, but yes, this will be a uncertainty that will keep hanging on trade and otherwise as well. We'll speak to you later this evening, both Maroof Raza and Sushant Sareen. I hope to get back on the channel with you and carry on the conversations. We are likely to see the Prime Minister's statement very shortly, an all-party meeting at 5 p.m. We're also given to understand that all envoys have been called by the MEA. So, you know, work happening on multiple fronts as far as this strike is concerned. For now, the big headline is that yes, we went right and deep into Pakistan. The first time that we crossed the LOC since 1971, and we've busted a huge terror training camp of the jaish-e-mohammed, and in that we've achieved a remarkable feat with no civilian casualty right now and no touching the Pak military as well. And on that, India has a huge moral high ground. Thank you very much for being with us on this edition. We'll take a quick breather. There'll be plenty more of market action that's going to be followed up next. Stay right here.